For the many of you who may not know me, I am Albert Mugno, a 50-year-old active man. I am a loving and supportive husband, father of 2 young men, a son, a brother, and a son and brother-in-law. I presently teach CAD, engineering and architecture at Northern Highlands Regional High School and have been for the past 28 years. I have coached many young children from town rec to middle school boys and girls soccer and basketball to high school basketball, track and field, my son's varsity summer ice hockey teams, even though I've never skated in my life, to varsity soccer at Highlands, coaching over 1,500 student athletes during my time and forming many long-lasting relationships. My philosophies in teaching and coaching and life are keep it simple, a parts to whole process, and time and space. These were my models all along with the great Tom Petty song, I Won't Back Down, through this hellacious health journey I recently endured. Before I was diagnosed with cancer, I was an active member of the Highlands community, advising the STEM Club, the Architecture and Engineering Club, president of the New Jersey STEM League, president of the Pascack Valley Ice Hockey Association, and proud supporter of my family's endeavors. Christine's teaching art, Mike's curling team at Penn State, and Matt playing ice hockey for Pascack Valley. I have my own amateur weather company called AccuWeather and started a website and a blog. I have great interest in everything from the weather to traveling to historical documentaries to sports to architecture, engineering, and just have a love of learning. This health ordeal all started when I was helping my youngest son Matthew take apart his outdoor winter ice rink. I became lightheaded and dizzy. My world was spinning and I thought I was having a heart attack. My wife Christine, without hesitation, took one look at me and knew she had to get me to the hospital. We rushed to Pascack Valley, leaving my 17-year-old son Matt home all alone. Upon arrival, I had a team of nurses and doctors working on me, hooking me up to machines and monitors. The test concluded that I did not have a heart attack. Great news, right? Of course it was at the time. Then about a half hour later, they came back in and said, you are bleeding internally and have lost 8 pints of blood. See, we have 14 pints in the human body. I was missing 60% of this necessary fluid. This was giving me the symptoms of a heart attack. The joy went to fear. Why? How? In my short 3-day stay at the hospital, a CT scan showed a mass in my large intestines that was causing this blood loss. They gave me transfusions for blood and iron to boost my blood levels, which were critically low. A scheduled colonoscopy a week later was performed and I waited the results. And I waited and waited. No news is good news again, right? Well, wrong again. In the meantime, I had iron transfusions to bring my iron counts up and I returned to work. It was 1 week later, on October 24th, a day and moment which I will never forget. The moment of time that is still frozen in my mind, like the 9/11 attacks for many. I was eating lunch in the teacher's cafeteria with my coworkers when my phone rang. It was a call that would change me and my family's life forever. My heart started beating fast and I was ready for good news. Well, when the doctor said, Mr. Mugno, I have the test results and I usually do not do this over the phone, nor do I like to, my heart sank and an empty pit of coldness hit me. I said, okay, doc, it's not good, is it? And he replied, no, Mr. Mugno, you have cancer. These words hit me like the fiercest waves I've ever encountered swimming in the ocean. I asked, how bad? And he said, you need surgery as soon as possible. My mind scrambled as I thought, I am a 49-year-old young active male. How did this happen? Well, I lived to see my children graduate college, get married, grandkids. Am I going to widow my beloved wife as my father did at this age? It was earth-shattering. to me and just blew up my world. I told my wife and she fell to pieces, but we decided to refrain from telling our boys, which would be very difficult because I felt I was lying to them when they asked how my test results were. I went into my 3 philosophical modes and needed to figure out a plan, so I called on every medical professional I knew. I struck a pot of gold and figured a major part to this process, a phenomenal surgeon who specializes in colorectal cancer surgery and is world-renowned. This helped put my angst and my family's angst at ease for the moment. In my meeting with Dr. Kieran, he told me after reviewing my scans and charts that I would be cured and beat this. The cancer was basically encapsulated in a small region of my colon, and it did not spread to any other areas of my body. Another great news moment for the context of this health emergency. The surgery preparation was brutal, and it was the first hurdle in this long race. First quarter in the hardest game that I ever played or coached in. If this is hard, what is the post-operation going to be like since it was a major surgery? I broke things up into smaller parts, and with my wife's care, she helped me make it to Columbia Hospital for my surgery. I was able to muster up my strength, which looking back I did frequently to get over major hurdles and obstacles with the surgery, post-op complications, and chemotherapy treatments. Post-op complications that ensued: fever, more blood transfusions, kidney issues, bronchitis, and a very strict diet. Each day I just said I need to break it up into smaller segments so I can make it through, and that I did. The pathology report came back a week later with great news that confirmed my cancer did not spread, non-aggressive and non-genetic. I breathed a massive sigh of relief, and when you pass your driver's exam as a teenager, you feel the same way. I was told you have stage 3 cancer with only 1 infected lymph node, which was very good news in my surgeon's words. I was again relieved, and then the dreaded words: you will need chemotherapy. Again, my joy was brought down. I went into problem-solving mode and made lots of calls, texts, and emails, and found an oncologist who specializes in this type of cancer. And she was in New Jersey. I felt, well, it has to be done, and I cleared the first major set of hurdles in this race. And know we have to go clear the rest, however that may be. Next major and hopefully final phase was chemo, and Dr. Jawar was amazing. She worked with the American Cancer Society in developing research at Sloan for a new type of treatment for colon cancers. I was on the cutting edge of this new protocol. The consultation meetings were uplifting and very informative. She reaffirmed that I would beat this, and I had to be a good patient in order to do this. I would have some very strict limitations and would need treatments every 3 weeks for 3 to 4 months. I'm a free independent type of person, and this was going to give me even more hurdles to overcome. The IV chemo sessions lasted 6 hours every 3 weeks, with 2 weeks of heavy oral chemo after each IV. I said I can do this. I set in my mind 4 months from June 20th, my first IV chemo. I got over a bunch of major hurdles to this point so I could get through these. Small parts to the whole process. The time in between each treatment allowed me to boost my immune system. I needed to keep it simple. The treatments became more difficult with throat sores and lockjaw that inhibited my ability to swallow and eat. Sensitivity to cold, so I had to wear gloves. Neuropathy in my arm, which rendered it useless at times. Nausea, aka swamp stomach, nasty bruises from numerous IV needle pricks. Each time I said I'm not backing down, and I will get through this. One day at a time, each day I will accomplish a small task. I was able to go back to school and finish the last 2 weeks of the school year, which was a major milestone for me and my students. On October 20th, I took my last oral chemo pill. And on October 28th, my oncologist said, "You are now on the survivors list." It was a great joyous moment and a huge sigh of relief for me and my family. My family and friends, my co-workers, students, and their families all stood by me and gave me tremendous support, care, and love. From emails to text messages to cards to food provided, this gave me energy, strength, and drive to beat this. I won't back down. The American Cancer Society, through the funded research since the late 1940s, gave me the opportunity to see tomorrow next year and the next 30, hopefully. The breaking down this large, massive part we call cancer into smaller, manageable parts, keeping it simple, creating time and space, and not backing down for any of that I had to endure helped me pull through this. I've been honored, and I am honored to have been able to speak to you on behalf of the survivors here today and those who succumb to this horrible disease. Thank you.
Go give him a hug.